Hey, this radio show is called The Hook. You want to know why it's called The Hook? It's because, we hook people in. I wasn't going to say the fishing thing. Don't look at me like that. That's the marketing maverick, Jason Arcemont. TheHookRadio.com is where you find us online. Great guest in studio, someone that I just met, but you've known him for a little while.
I've known this guy quite a while. I'll say, for quite some time. I mean, he's been a mentor of mine. He's been somebody that I can lean on for as long as I can remember. It's no other than my big brother, Josh Arcemont, is in studio. Josh, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome.
So wait. How was he growing up? That's a different show.
That's different. We'll get into that. That's another show.
Probably not as business savvy.
Have you ever done radio before? I mean, you know that your little brother does radio every week now. Have you done radio before?
Never. It's my first time. I've done some interviews, like MP3 interviews in the martial arts industry, but never radio.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
All right.
First time.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, I'm glad I can, bring you up.
The
a
little
bit.
brother becomes the
sensei.
teacher.
Yeah.
Sensei.
So the sensei, why do I say that? Well, Josh is not just my brother. He's also a business owner, a very savvy one at that, and owns a martial arts studio in Spring, Texas called Hero Martial Arts Academy. What's that? What's the URL for those people that are listening that want to check it out? It's
HeroMAA.com.
Okay. MAA. Okay. .com.
Okay. What's the MMA? MAA, not MMA.
Martial Arts Academy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So let me ask you about that. Being a business owner and being in martial arts, how long have you had your academy?
We opened in 2010.
Okay.
April 2010.
Do you feel like the mixed martial arts kind of helped out with the landscape of martial arts as a whole?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely gotten exposure for martial arts in general. I just don't know that the exposure is the kind of exposure that we want, that I want as a family martial arts school, that we teach primarily kids. You see the way these guys handle themselves on interviews and the way they kind of project their themselves and the language they use.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that can play against us as martial artists, as traditional martial artists.
The respect kind of thing?
The respect thing, yeah.
Okay.
But on the other hand, it's a great platform for us that it brings martial arts to the forefront. I mean, I'm actually had some UFC fighters out to the school and some good ones that speak well and are good positive role models. So in that respect, it's good because it's given us exposure. So there's some positive and negative to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, do you still have an affiliation, at least a relationship with Labario at American Top Team, right?
Right. Yeah. American Top Team.
Which has been pretty cool having some of those guys out.
And you're a martial arts academy, so does that mean that you don't specialize in one specific?
That's right. Yeah. Now,
Okay.
I have a background in Taekwondo. That was kind of like back when I started Taekwondo. MMA wasn't even a term. I mean, it was before UFC. So we did Taekwondo primarily, but nowadays people know, and that's one thing that MMA has brought to the forefront here is that, you need to learn it all. If you're going to be, if you're going to be able to protect yourself for real, you need to know how to protect yourself standing up and on the ground. So what we do is we mix it together, kind of like mixed martial arts, but not cage fighting. So it's mixing different styles of martial arts together in a way that can teach children. And it's not cage fighting, so we're not teaching ground and pound and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, busting lips. And
Yeah.
Not like that daycare did a few years ago where they got caught for doing it was a daycare that had like 3 and 4 years old.
Backyard fights?
It was not backyard fights, it was Fight Club. They called it Fight Club.
Oh my gosh.
It was horrible.
Oh, that's not good.
And they posted the videos. I know, right?
Yeah,
I've
real smart people.
Yeah, it's tough because whenever you have people that do things like this, it probably makes you have to maybe defend yourself against people that think that it's not such a good thing to have a martial arts background.
Yeah.
But you look at the kids that have had them growing up. I mean, we talked about off the air. We talked about Joe Rogan. That's a guy who was in Taekwondo, and now it's helped him in his life from the time he started. He said that he would be just a thug if he wouldn't have got into martial arts because he had a focus.
Yeah. And it does that for people. It usually brings the quiet ones out of their shell, gives them confidence, and it gives the ones that are cocky kind of humility. So it kind of equals people out and equals the playing field in that way. I think the world would be a better place if everyone trained martial arts. We would know how to defend ourselves. We would have good health, good exercise, and you would get any aggressiveness that you had, you would get it out in the gym, and you would leave the gym tired and sweaty, and you wouldn't need to have that road rage on the way home. You know,
I know.
So
I know it
that.
helped me, man. Whenever I was younger, I don't do it as much, pretty much at all nowadays. But we were involved all growing up. One of the things I think is interesting is a lot of times people will hear that you own a martial arts studio and like, so you just do Taekwondo classes, you just do martial arts classes, and they don't really understand that this is a serious business. I mean, how do you normally respond to that? Because sometimes I can see you get red when people are like, so all you do is martial arts, as if it's not a real gig.
Yeah. It definitely could, I guess, not be a real gig if you didn't look at it that way. It definitely has to be looked at as a business. It is a business. And in order for us to inspire kids and to teach people and to have a martial arts school where we can, touch people's lives, we have to treat it as a business. And so that's one thing we've done, since day one, since opening the school. It is a business. We're martial artists first. And we're businessmen second is the way I look at it,
Yeah, I love that. And I'm not going to ask Josh to go into details about his business, but I'll tell you that he runs a very successful business strictly from a business standpoint, from how he looks at his financials, how he looks at his employees, how he does his training. He is on par with the best of the best, and I couldn't be prouder of the way he does that. I'm curious, though, so when you're getting started in doing a passion-driven business, which, for you, I know martial arts is a passion for you. It's not really just a business. How did you make the decision to kind of go out on your own? What was that final thing that you said, hey, I'm going to have to start my own business and do it my way? Or what was that for you?
To me, it was about, creation. As a martial artist, we take the word artist, what does an artist do? They create. So as a martial artist, I think the pinnacle for me was going to be to create a martial arts school of my own, a culture of my own, and I guess kind of do it my way. I had been, of course, like most people when they start martial arts, they're under a master, right? And they train under him. In this case, it was my stepdad. And there just came a time where it was time for me to go out on my own and express myself on my own through my business. And I like what they say in the book, The E-Myth. I mean, a business is a world of your own where you get to create and you get immediate feedback, and it just came a time like in most people's lives where it's time to do that. And I knew it was the time to do it.
So how did you really transform that though? I mean, I know you worked, with our stepdad and, we're working at a school, but there's so many people out there who have a passion for something that maybe don't even realize that they could turn it into a business. I mean, when people realize that how many employees do you have?
We have 9 now.
9 employees, folks. Okay. We're talking about martial arts. It's a serious school. 9 employees. You could take a passion that you have, if you're listening to this, and turn it into a business, I would want to say just as easily, but were there some kind of fundamental steps that you took early on to make sure that you did run it like a business and you weren't just having fun teaching class?
Yeah. Well, I referenced the book, The E-Myth, and that's definitely a book I think if you haven't read that, anybody out there thinking about running their own business or running their own business should read. But, in that book, it definitely details how there's an entrepreneur in all of us, and then that's the creator. That's the person who has the ideas, who has the inspiration, who always wants to create. And a lot of time, the entrepreneur has a hard time managing things, and they're not necessarily the manager, And so, and then there's the technician. And as a martial artist, most of us are technicians at heart. We're the ones out there teaching the classes day to day, doing the work, opening the door, taking the money, teaching the classes, and we know our stuff. And so what happens is the technician, the instructor in my case, has this idea to open a school, but doesn't have any idea on how to manage the school or what it takes to really run a school. And so before I opened my own martial arts school, that's what I did. I did research into that, and I understood I couldn't do all of those things. And I knew going into it, I wanted to be the technician and be on the mat, but I also had to hire the right people and hire the people to do the job so that I could teach because I wanted to teach, but not because I had to teach. I didn't want to be a slave to the business of And that's one thing I think people get into is when they have a passion, they're passionate about this thing, but then they end up starting a business and don't realize that they're going to be doing a million other things that they hadn't planned on doing. And then it becomes this thing that they're trapped into. So
and I think you did a really good job of being patient in rewarding yourself financially too, and making sure that you had the infrastructure and the right people. I mean, you really took the time to kind of lay the framework. You also looked at your product, I guess, which is your instruction. I know how serious you take that your curriculum, but maybe give a little insight to how important that was to you then and how it's continued to evolve. I mean, rather than just opening up a studio or a company and saying, hey, we're going to figure it out, you spent quite a bit of time honing in on your curriculum and your craft.
Yeah, so that would be what we consider like the product, right? So if you're opening a restaurant, the product is going to be the food, and the people who deliver that are the servers, right? And so we have to make sure that the food is consistent. When you go to a restaurant, you want to make sure every time you go, what you order is consistent. And so for us in a martial arts world, that product is going to be our curriculum, what we teach, and our instructors are the servers. Those are the people that are delivering that curriculum. And so we need to make sure that what are we going to teach? I mean, there's a million things to teach in martial arts. We talked about MMA and we talked about all these different things, but who's our client? Who's our market? They're going to be, for us, it's kids. You know, we want families involved in martial arts, and we want kids in the community to come to our school. So we had to create a curriculum that kids are going to love, but that's also important it's going to teach them things, how to defend themselves for real. You know, it's not fluff. And so we spent some time like figuring out exactly what that is. You know, we can't teach everything, but what exactly we are going to teach is we're going to make sure the kids are having fun, and we're going to make sure that they're learning real practical martial arts skills they can defend themselves.
How do you involve all the disciplines and then still have some kind of belt system, or do you have a belt system in place?
Yeah, it's you know, it's simple. We work backwards. Our goal is at black belt. What do we want our students to have? What skills do we want them to have at black belt? And then we just kind of work backwards, and we create a belt system for that. That there's goals for them along the way. So at white belt they're learning ABC, and then at yellow belt and so on. And you just break it up.
Is it tough to get instructors in that have the same mindset about using different disciplines?
That culture. I know even within normal organizations, it's difficult. So I can only imagine.
Yeah,
huge.
But we talk about processes a lot whenever we're working at Brightbox. So whenever you have your processes in place, but just using those little specific parts of disciplines and bringing them together, and then everybody has their own idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
that's been
you go ahead.
Yeah. So I would say it's been a challenge, but really, because we have our own specific style. It's not like we can put an ad out and hire someone because they don't know our style and they don't know our culture. So what we do is we hire from within. We groom our students to become instructors. So my goal as the master instructor of the school is not to teach students martial arts. It's to teach students to become leaders and then to become instructors. So everybody that works for me now, we've hired internally. And so they've been students with me, and they know the curriculum, they know the culture.
Yeah.
I know them, I know their families. So there's no big interview process. You know, we have hired from the outside in the past, and it's never worked out. So moving forward, that's pretty much our system.
And we're not talking about kind of a gut feeling process. I mean, Josh has got manuals on top of manuals that he's created, full binders worth of information about the company and the organization and the culture and the techniques and the curriculum. I mean, it's really impressive what he's put into the business.
But how does that make it difficult or impossible to expand? Or is that something that you don't even consider well, what's 4 years from now? Maybe open up a new location? You've probably got those goals set out in front of you. Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah, we've thought about it. My mission right now is just to create instructors, really good instructors. And if I keep doing that, eventually those instructors are going to want to follow their own dreams, and they're going to want to open their own martial arts school. And hopefully they'll be affiliated with me. It may be something that I help them with. They may be some sort of affiliation, or maybe they just go out on their own, and I understand that too. But if I just focus on my goals of creating really good instructors, we're going to have really good students. And I think the byproduct of that is that, we'll probably be ready to expand in the future. We're just keep growing. Our instructor base, we're 6 years old. So when I started, it was just me. Now we have 9 instructors on the mat, and they all started and they're all homegrown. So I think it's going to pay off down the road for sure.
Hey, this guy's sharp. You should hire him.
I can't afford him now.
Right. That's our guest, Josh Arcemont. Of course, you might have heard earlier, brother to Jason Arcemont. And who got the better of who whenever y'all were growing up?
Josh started before I did, and there was I always had a little more weight on him. So I'll say there was a speed advantage for Josh.
There's some videos out there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, well, sit tight. We're going to come right back for another segment right here on The Hook.
I see Main Street closing, miles of for sale signs.
We're
We're back with our guest in studio, Josh Arcemont. Tell me the name of your academy once again.
It's Hero Martial Arts Academy.
Okay.
So heromaa.com.
Correct.
All right.
And that's in Spring.
Right.
And you're probably thinking, well, what does this pertain to the business world? We have a business show that we do every single week, and we talk about marketing, and well, the community relations aspect of it is what we kind of focused on in our earlier segments, which you can always catch thehookradio.com. If you missed anything, you can go back and listen to that. But that's really what we're kind of focused on today.
Yeah, we're talking about community relations, and if you missed the first segment with Josh, you can go back and listen to it. There's some great little nuggets in there I'm sure any business owner could benefit from. But one of the things I really want to talk with you about, Josh, was community relations. And I don't know if this is something that you intentionally did as a community relations effort, or if it was something that kind of naturally evolved. But your involvement in the community has become, kind of pivotal for your business. Want to tell us a little bit about that? I know you're doing the school talks. You're at churches often. You've really become a figure in the community. I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Well, one of our biggest ways that we market is by going to elementary schools. Actually, it's me. I personally do this, and it's a personal passion of mine to help kids in the community, but also it's beneficial for the business. One thing I do is I go in and I'm basically the instructor. I'm the PE teacher for the day at different elementary schools, and we work with approximately 20 different schools in the Spring, Klein area. And I come out once or twice a year, and I do a full day. I'm the PE teacher, and I'm teaching martial arts, and I'm also doing inspirational talks for the kids.
Okay.
And this is something that just kind of fell in my lap. My first teaching experience was at an elementary school. It was actually at Hempstead ISD. Back in 1996, they were at a disciplinary crisis, and they were kind of looking for any help they could get. And so my instructor came to me.
You were the scared straight guy.
That's kind of what I was doing. Yeah.
Okay.
And I kind of got thrown into it, and I was, my instructor said, hey, come along. Basically we did it for free, and we had like 50 kids, and if they wanted to stay after school and learn martial arts, we were there to teach it to them.
Yeah, and you guys did that program with them for a while, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3 years.
Gosh, that's right. I totally forgot about that. But so that's how that all started.
That's how I first started teaching, and so I kind of, I got comfortable working at schools and teaching kids and giving back to kids
too. Probably,
right?
Man,
yeah.
That's tough. So you saw the results from the interest, and so you just kind of decided to take that to other schools, and you just offer that for free. That's something that you go do.
Right.
You donate your time.
Yeah, it's 100% free. It's community give back, and it's the way we market. We don't spend a whole lot of money on marketing and advertising. For me, I'd rather go to the schools and work with the kids face to face and show them martial arts. A lot of the schools we work with, kids would never be able to experience martial arts, either because they can't afford it, the neighborhood they live in, maybe they don't know that they would like it, or their parents just would never sign them up. So by me going to the school, I'm reaching 100% of the kids in that school. And being in 20 different schools, we're reaching, we're talking like thousands of kids, thousands upon thousands of kids. In just one school, there's 1,000 kids. So I would rather go to the school and talk to the kids and give them a taste of what martial arts is all about, and hopefully inspire some of these kids. To me, that's much more worth my time than sending a flyer in the mail or putting an ad in a local paper.
Yeah, I think that is a kind of a rare treat. As a marketing guy, I'm just like, oh my goodness. But if you're listening, you can kind of hear how, remember I told you, like, define, what kind of role you wanted to be or the image you wanted, determine who your audience is, which Josh has defined himself as compassion and giving and teaching and elevating the youth. He knows his audience. And then, oh my goodness, did he ever find an unbelievable outlet to serve while still directly reaching that target audience.
Do you find any parents apprehensive to putting their kid in your classes?
Maybe. I think nowadays people are pretty savvy as to what martial arts is and the benefits.
We've all seen Danielson.
That's right.
Go through
and
Karate Kid.
Everybody needs a Miyagi in their life, right? That's me.
Yeah.
I think once they see and then they experience the class and they watch the class, they see what we're teaching. If it fits with their core values as a family, then they understand. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But I think for the most part, that's what we try to do. As I'm a parent, so I tried to teach my students what I would want someone to teach my kids.
Yeah. And I think if they've ever been to another martial arts school and then they come to Josh's studio, they see and they feel a difference right away. And honestly, not to disrupt your classes or your program, but if you're in the Spring area, go to Josh's website. You'll see his address on there. I would encourage you just come by one evening and watch a class and just see the level of structure and discipline and kind of the difference of the energy and everything within that building and how that studio is ran. There's so many lessons you could take away into your own business.
Here's a way that you can help everyone listening right now that has been interested in getting their children or maybe getting into it themselves into martial arts, because we see a lot of places every day. I probably pass by 20 or 30 martial arts academies or different places that you can go and get training. Because I live in Spring Branch, and there's just a lot over there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But how do you weed through who's going to be a good instructor or not a good instructor? I mean, how do you know? I mean, for someone that just sees these storefronts all over the place, it's impossible for us, I would think. Maybe you have some insight on that.
Yeah, well, first I would say it's not the style of martial arts isn't as important as the style of the instructor and the values behind that instructor and the culture in the school. So you walk into a martial arts school and you see the instructor yelling at the kids or being disrespectful to the kids, or you see that there's no structure on the floor. Maybe the kids are running around and not really respecting the instructor. That would be a sign of, okay, this may not be what I'm looking for. There should be structure in the school. The kids should have a specific spot where they're standing. They should always know what to do. The instructor should be firm but very friendly, with the kids. And if you sit in a class and you listen and you watch the instructor and the kids seem to love the instructor and the instructor loves the kids back, I think that's the most important thing. Beyond that, you may have a certain particular style that you want for your children to learn. But.
And I know you've always told me too, it's like identify what you want out of a program, right? I mean, do you want your kid to be an Olympian? Well,
yeah,
then
right.
you may want to look for more trophies and accolades whenever you walk in. Sure. If you're looking for life skills and personal growth development, then maybe that's where you are paying a little bit more attention to the quality of conversation and communication between the instructor and the student.
Right.
But yeah, you're right, Josh. I never even thought about it. There's so many options.
And look at the students too. You can look at the upper belt students, and if their technique is good and they look like they know what they're doing, that's a good sign that that's a good school.
Yeah. Yeah,
I just wonder about that because I have a 5-year-old that's just a terror, and I think that he needs that kind of discipline. But both of my kids,
but he's a friendly terror. He's not like a bad kid. He's he's an awesome kid.
He needs
to
have that energy directed into. He needs some focus, is really what it is. But both of my kids have always been interested. And so that's like the next step for us. Maybe I'm just asking questions about this because I'm being selfish.
Our listeners, we want to hear more about business, but yeah, it's valid.
I think a lot of parents want to know that. But in talking about the business standpoint, I do pass by a lot of those places, and it just there's nothing inviting about it. I mean, have you changed that? I haven't seen the front of your place. I mean, do you have a different kind of approach in the way you look as opposed to these other places?
Absolutely. Now, I started in the 80s in martial arts. And so back then you walk into a martial arts school, there's holes in the wall. It smells like feet. You know what I mean? There's nobody greeting you at the front desk, and so that whole model's completely changed. I mean, we want to look professional. So when people walk into our school, we spend a lot of time on our lobby, making that lobby look good and smell good. And we have we fix all the holes, and and there's a certain spot where shoes go and this sort of thing. And most people, when they walk into our school, they go, "Wow, this is not what I expected," in a good way. So we want to have that perception of a martial arts school, a professional martial arts school, to be to blow their socks off, and I think that's important.
I think probably a good comparison is like what you're seeing with like the gyms, like lifting weights and going to a gym. It used to kind of be like the old warehouse style, and you're seeing gyms are getting nicer and cleaner and more kind of clubby feeling. And I don't know if that's the best comparison, but definitely Josh is taking his school to that next kind of professional club feel than just a warehouse where you go sweat it out and punch each other in the nose.
And I feel like a lot of the places that I'm thinking of that I do pass by, that they have the old roller rink feel to them. That it's all dated, and it does have that old
half the lights
carpet, and exactly. And it's like the mats are all torn up, and I don't know.
It's all part of the package. What are you trying to what do you want people to think about your facility when they walk in? Do you want them to think professional, or do you want them to think, oh, this is old school, roller rink stuff here in the backyard. So, everything from our color scheme to our logo, to our restrooms, have to be immaculate.
Like Buc-ee's?
Like Buc-ee's, yeah. Because who has the purchasing power? It's the moms. They're the ones signing up their kids. And if they walk into your school and they see those little dust bunnies in the corner, or they go into the restroom and it's not what they want, if it looks bad, they're probably thinking, well, what else is going on behind the scenes that they're not taking care of. So I think that's important.
Wow.
It also allows you to, we say all the time, when proper branding, which all of this is, allows you to kind of dictate your pricing. Those other schools that have holes in the wall and looks like a roller rink, they're not going to be able to charge, what a school like Josh's is going to be able to charge for a premium service, a premium facility, at a competitive rate.
But what if their name's Red Dragon? Hello.
You got to sign up for that one.
That's your market. You're their target market, apparently.
Yeah. They're trying to sign up Josh. Red Dragon. Awesome, man. Well, there's so much more. I mean, I wish we just had, a whole other show. I mean, obviously being my brother, I'm a little biased, but...
I was surprised that you had so much to talk to him about.
Well,
you talk to him every day, probably, right?
Yeah, but it's funny. Some of these, I never really worded the questions that way. I kind of assumed, but I was really interested to hear how he worded it. And man, what a pleasure and a joy it's been to have you on. So I thank you so much, brother. Thanks for coming
absolutely.
on the show.
It was fun.
The website again?
HeroMAA.com.
That's Josh Arcemont, along with Jason Arcemont. We'll be back next week. TheHookRadio.com is where you find us.